Kate Monroe, Marine Corps veteran, CEO of VETCOMM, a company that helps veterans access VA coverage, and a Republican congressional candidate from California and author of the book Race to Save America. Welcome to the Alan Nathan Show.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
As we've talked about the border crisis and the stupendous cost of dealing with all these illegals, which is really hitting the blue states where they've been shipped to pretty hard, I've thought that I was the only person noticing that this is the same government that can't seem to provide decent care for military veterans. Pennies are constantly being pinched, crises at the VA hospitals all the time. They need more funding, but nothing is thought about throwing a couple $1 billion at foreign nationals who get across America's border, and I have a feeling that's an issue you're aware of as well.
Oh my gosh, I have been all over the news talking about the deprioritization of our nation's veterans. You know, you had 161,000 migrants seen at VA hospitals, all of the VA HUD-VASH program, which is meant to house homeless veterans. Most of that money was reallocated toward migrants. It's just, it's disgusting. As a person who is a Marine Corps veteran that serves veterans, I have hundreds of veterans call in a month. Kate, what are you going to do about this? Because the VA cannot maintain this level of paying for everything else but veterans. It's not sustainable.
And other public services also have made similar complaints. In some of the big cities, there's money running out of all the programs for the local people. There's a big scandalous story programs for American citizens, brewing out of how the illegals are being given more money to spend than the welfare recipients who are born in the States get. I mean, on and on and on it goes, beginning to be horrified at how he's being plowed into this border invasion offensive program. And it's not passionate. I mean, they keep telling us it would be rational or cruel not to provide to the illegals, but don't we have a duty to Americans first? Doesn't our government have a duty to us?
Well, I think, you know, I'm a very American candidate and Americans first, but if you look at the root of why they're doing it, the deprioritization of our people, of our elderly, of our kids, everything is done so that when it comes out, they have shipped all to parts of the country so that redistricting can happen. They don't even care if they vote. Them across the border, inviting them here, then all these migrants to parts of the country so that redistricting can happen. They don't even care if they vote. They are welcoming them across the border, inviting them here, then shipping them all over the United States so that they can have Democrat supremacy running into 2030. That is why they're doing it. Anyone listening to this right now, there's no other reason for it but that, for power. It's a power grab.
There's this idea that has arisen called the celebration parallax. It says that if you notice something like that and you approve of it, that's great. But if you notice something like that and you disapprove of it, you're evil for mentioning it, you're probably a xenophobe, and you should probably be silenced or canceled. And I'm sure you've gotten that pushback when you point this out. There are howls of derision at you for daring to say that they're trying to replace us or, you know, rejigger our politics with mass migration, but it's painfully obvious that's what they're doing.
Well, if you just have two eyeballs, right, the math doesn't math. And, you know, this whole cancel culture thing we have, I think we have a little bit less cancel culture than we did the last couple of years. But you can only be canceled if you allow it. As a Marine Corps veteran, your emotional feelings do not matter to me. I'm looking at facts, and I'm going to stand in the gap and protect veterans and the American public for the onslaught of what is coming at them, at any expense even of my own.
One of the things that I worry about longer term is not only this effort to rebalance the census and so on by moving migrant populations around, but also, as we can see, they're very expensive. Taking care of them is very expensive. And not only is that a problem right now for cratering budgets, but that's going to become pressure against us in years to come to keep making the government bigger, to keep shoveling more money at it. It's going to factor into the next demand for a tax increase that we hear from the left, that we need more money to take care of the illegals and everything else besides. This is a government that is so far beyond broke, it can't see broke in the rearview mirror, but it thinks nothing of taking another $1 trillion in obligations on with the snap of a finger.
Well, because what we really are is a republic, and our leaders have forgotten that. They run our democracy, our blue and red, as though it's an oligarchy, like we're not in America, like the citizens don't have a say. They have gone too far. That's what's really happening. They want to keep money coming to these programs. Like, I don't know where there's a money stamping machine backed by any real collateral. Maybe I don't see it. But we are at a very scary tipping point, like at an event horizon, if we don't turn back. We need to get the National Guard to the border, build the wall, and reform immigration immediately. And if we can build a wall and it's cheaper and we're not doing it, it's very evident why they're allowing it to happen.
That was, you remember 2016, when Trump was running the first time, and the border wall discussion was underway, and they would throw out an amount, a sum that it would cost to build the border wall and say, we can't afford it. And my God, we spent 50 times that much on illegal aliens since that day, and counting, and it's never going to be over.
Well, we spent 10 times that on Ukraine. We spent half as much of it just to, in quotes, fix homelessness just in California, only to have more homeless. So that's just their rhetoric. That's their word gymnastics that they like to do to make their point.
And that's a big problem with immigration, is that you can't talk about it plainly. As soon as you use plain language, you're attacked. You're not allowed to call illegal aliens, or illegal, whatever new term they came up with yesterday is the word you have to use.
Well, they're migrants now, right? They're migrating from other continents on airplanes, getting coordinated with the cartel. They're migrants now like birds. That's the new thing.
And I noticed they gave up on undocumented Americans. That was the term of art 10 years ago, but I guess that didn't fly. One thing about this border deal in the Senate that has got people so upset, I think the thing that really sparked public opposition to it, was that it guaranteed something like 5,000 illegals a day forever, which would have been considered unbearable crisis mode 2 years ago. But this supposed border security bill was going to institutionalize that as a permanent state of affairs, and that seems more than anything else to have sparked public opposition to the deal.
Well, the one of the biggest alarming things to me is that this, quote, bipartisan deal was put forth even from some of the Republicans to ensure that money could still go to Ukraine. Like, let's continue the biggest money laundering operation that's ever been perpetrated on the American people, while we also still let 5,000 migrants in per day. So what you're saying is we could dial it down if we wanted to, because we're in control of the border. So if we only wanted 5,000, we could really dial it down to that per day. No, you can't. You absolutely cannot. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's not any kind of deal I'd be voting for.
Well, that leads into a big problem with something the government is supposed to be doing, which is national security. And we're having problems with military recruitment now. And one of the issues is that you've got these student loan giveaway plans that are being promulgated that are going to make some people just openly demand for college to be nationalized or made free, quote unquote, or something. And that inevitably causes problems with military recruitment. It takes away one of the big reasons a lot of people join the military, and yet we have a government that wants us to be involved in potential conflicts around the world.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I just wrote an op-ed. I think Fox published it on this particular subject. So, if the only service that doesn't have a recruiting crisis is the Marine Corps, and I was a Marine. Marines do not go into the Marine Corps for college. Many of the other services, though, rely on college-age kids to go serve in the military for their benefits. So they are having a massive recruiting crisis because all the kids who would have gone in for college are not. And without this Veteran Entrepreneur Act passing, there's no other benefit. Like, I would propose that you use your GI Bill to start a business. That would be a good carrot to this next generation of little CEOs. Couple that with wokeism and lack of patriotism, we're in a very scary situation with our military recruitment. And I don't really know, aside of mass incentives and passing this, Veteran Entrepreneur Act, that will ever fix it. We're in a very scary situation.
Another criticism that one hears a lot is that the military culture in some of the branches has degraded. There's political correctness now. That's making people less enthusiastic about signing up. And a lot of military recruits increasingly feel like their government hates them. If you're a white male, your government thinks you're slime. So why should you go fight for it? Are those things a factor in recruiting enthusiasm?
Oh, 100%. All the DEI and wokeism. I have a lot of, because we help veterans, we ask a lot of vets, like, hey, you're like 16, 14 years. Why didn't you serve 20? They just said, I just could not deal with the direction of where the military is going. We're having drag shows on our bases. They said just the stuff that's going on it doesn't follow in the line with being, militarily sound or ready to go to war. They just feel unsafe in the military. And they just see where it's going as like every other woke, horrible thing in the United States.
And there's a delayed action here because today we have stories about military recruitment problems, and I fear that sends a message to the dangers and the threats out there that they feel like tomorrow's American military will be something they don't have to worry about. And most of our potential adversaries, both state actors and non-state threats, are groups that generally feel like they have an advantage in manpower and morale. They're really committed to their causes, and they don't think Americans can fight. And when they see news coverage that our military recruitment is collapsing, that gives them some dangerous ideas that I'd rather they weren't having.
Oh, I feel exactly the same way. Our military power is what ensures our status in the world. Our military might is actually what ensures the safety of many other nations. So not only is our military suffering, we are showing a lack of military might in many places around the globe right now. It's not enough to just send money.
I know, so long as it has been our ideal to have a military that's so good we don't have to use it. And I really hope we can get back to that. It does send a message.
Yeah.
Big stick, right. Speak softly and carry the big stick. Kate Monroe, Marine Corps veteran, CEO of VETCOMM, and a Republican candidate for Congress in California. Thank you very much for joining us today.